Hello viewers, thank you for joining me, and welcome to one of those last-minute movie reviews. Splitting up Azumanga the way I did kinda threw off my schedule, but it actually came at a pretty perfect time. A few months back, while conflicted over whether or not I wanted to review Haibane Renmei, I'd gathered a few movies to fill its space, so I was already prepared for something like this. And for someone like me, who watches most anime on a last-minute whim after planning to watch something else all the month before, preparation is most of the battle. Weathering with You is the story of a boy named Hodaka, a 16-year-old runaway who's made it to Tokyo, planning to make a life for himself there. But real life doesn't mesh so well with those dreams. He runs through the money he brought with him pretty quickly, and with no official ID, it's just about impossible to find a job. But there's one more thing about this movie's Tokyo in particular. The area's been experiencing record-breaking rainfall, and Hodaka encountered his first storm on the boat ride over. He actually almost fell overboard, but was saved by a friendly, if odd, stranger, who left him with a business card. Though a little put off by him initially, once Hodaka's really down on his luck, he decides to pay Kei a visit. Keisuke Suga runs an odd little business out of his house, writing articles for offbeat magazines, a lot of conspiracy theories and the like, with his niece, Natsumi. Hodaka is offered a job as an assistant, which makes him everything from a researcher to a secretary to a maid. Currently, the biggest article they're researching is the legend of the Sunshine Girls, young women who can manipulate the weather just by praying for it. Traditionally, they were shrine maidens who got their power by absorbing the wishes of their townspeople, and with the constant rainfall this summer, it's not hard to understand why the tale has gotten so popular. Unfortunately, their research isn't giving them much to write about. But then Hodaka meets Hina. While he was homeless, he ran into her at her fast food job, where she snuck him a free meal. When he runs into her again, she's lost that job and is being led away by a pimp. Hodaka charges in and pulls her away, and she leads him up to this garden shrine on the roof of an abandoned building, mysteriously shrouded in a halo of light, even while it rains all around them. Hina starts to pray, and the rain stops. And Hodaka realizes he's found a real-life Sunshine Girl. As they grow closer, he learns that her mother died a year ago, and she's been single-handedly supporting herself and her younger brother. Hodaka comes up with the idea of selling her Sunshine Girl services, so they start a website and are immediately flooded with requests. This part of the story is fun and whimsical. They go from flea markets to elementary school sports festivals to weddings, just giving people their perfect days for the few hours where it really matters. Hina's a really sweet character, and one of the best moments in the movie for me was hearing her talk about how she felt like she had a purpose for the first time in her life. But Kei and Natsumi, who he hasn't shared these activities with, are still researching the Sunshine Girl legends. They end up interviewing an old priest. He tells them about the weather maidens of old, and reminds them that everything comes with a price. I'm saving any real spoiler talk for the very end so it'll be easy to skip, but this should be enough of a setup to talk a bit about the movie as a whole. If you've ever even just heard of Weathering with You before, you probably already know that it's another film thought up, written, and directed by Makoto Shinkai. I don't think he's made anything that hasn't received great reviews in at least the last 5 years, but I think he's most recognizable, still, as the writer, creator, director of Your Name. That sets the bar pretty high for me. I didn't review it, because, what is left to say, but Your Name is one of my favorite animated movies of all time. And it did meet those expectations in a lot of places. It looks beautiful. I thought that would be a tougher thing to pull off with this setting. Given how much rain plays a factor in the story, the scenes weren't overwhelmingly dull and dreary or anything. And I loved the music. I'm a sucker for soft, bittersweet piano pieces. The love story, too, I was really feeling, and I'm not the easiest to please with romances. But Hina and Hodoka had some really good moments, and I could feel that relationship growing over time. Other aspects of the movie didn't sit quite as well with me. I feel like it really hit its storytelling stride about halfway through. The beginning was a little rough, rushed and choppy. There are like 3 musical montages within the first hour, and there was a lot of narration I felt it could have done without. It just didn't really add anything to the experience. The mystery was built up enough within the story itself, and what is explained outright isn't anything the viewers should have had any trouble deciphering themselves. But the biggest thing I'm at odds with is the ending, so to wrap up this part of the review, Weathering with You is another beautiful movie. I really did enjoy it overall. There's a little more to each of the characters' lives than first meets the eye, and I love those types of troubled family stories. It's worth seeing, at least once, if you haven't already. Now, if you're still here, there are some things I want to discuss that definitely sit in spoiler territory. What they end up learning is that Sunshine Girls ultimately become human sacrifices, fading into the sky and turning the weather back to normal, but by the time Hodoka learns this, when the storm's gotten worse than ever and they're on the run from the cops for several reasons, the process is already too far gone to be reversed, and Hina disappears. What follows is a great, dramatic chase scene where Hodoka breaks out of custody and goes back to the rooftop shrine where Hina first got her powers to try and bring her back to this realm. The fact that he ultimately succeeds is the part I'm torn over. It's not that I didn't want to see them get a happy ending. I did like all of these characters. The movie itself just seems a little conflicted over the lesson they were trying to tell. Another phenomenon always seemed to follow Hina using her abilities. I noticed the very first time we see her use them that it's not that the rain stops exactly, but it looks like the water droplets in the area are being sucked back up into the sky. And then later, huge masses of water can be seen just floating in the sky, dropping all at once and potentially causing major damage if it grew big enough. Hodoka almost falling off the boat in the very beginning actually was due to being caught under one of those masses of water, but they never really addressed that. When Hodoka rescues Hina from the cloud world she disappeared to, it undoes the sacrifices effect too. The rain starts up again, harder than ever, and at the end of the movie, Tokyo is almost completely underwater. Something about it just doesn't sit quite right with me. From the very beginning, Weathering with You is set up like it's going to be a story about respecting nature. Hina has a power she shouldn't, and it would kind of make sense for her to meet some tragic fate at the end as retribution for using it. But Hina, at least, wasn't really stopping the rain for selfish reasons. She wanted to make people happy. When Hodoka rescues her, though, there's no question. She points out that returning with him will destroy the balance of things, and his response is literally, "I don't care about blue skies, I care about you." And when the city was already being evacuated for flooding at this point, that holds a little more weight than just giving up the chance to enjoy a nice sunny day. It just feels wrong to have that selfishness rewarded. I mean, the movie does a good job of supplying its own counter-argument. The same priest who warns them of Hina's fate as a sunshine girl also berates them for their perception of what's normal for nature. He tells them there's actually nothing unnatural about the amount of rain they're getting, that humans make a bigger deal out of things that personally inconvenience them. And near the end, when Hodoka returns to the area years later, he meets up with one of their old clients, who's had to move as her old home is now underwater. She tells him that, as recently as 200 years ago, the area now known as Tokyo was mostly underwater. It actually started out as a small fishing village, and then humankind built over a lot of the waterways to build the city we know today, which suggests that maybe this is nature regaining control and it was just destined to return to its original state sooner or later. That's actually not an idea unique to this movie either. I believe a full-length series with that premise came out this year too. Something about it just felt off to me. Like, I was watching this sequence of events unfold, and the logic behind them didn't quite link together. But overall, that wasn't something I absolutely couldn't overlook. It wasn't a movie that had me so frustrated and skeptical that I couldn't just sit back and enjoy the happy ending. I didn't want these kids to be miserable. I think Weathering with You delivered on most of the fronts I wanted it to. Overall, it was a really enjoyable experience, and I'll say again that if you haven't seen it yet, you should look into it. I feel like a lot of people are less critical than I am, and the things that pricked uncomfortably at the back of my mind may not even factor into your enjoyment of it. Thank you for watching.